The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Happy New Year to all my friends and subscribers. This is the TFfangeek coming to you with a special video. And today we're going to be taking a look at my personal favorite list of Transformers action figures for 2025. I was originally going to make this a top 25 favorite Transformers figures video since last year was 2025. And that's what I've been doing the last few years, is doing the top Transformers figures based on the number of the end year. But after all things considered, the figures that would have made top 10 on the list, I was only putting them on the list because, well, the ones that made the bottom 10, numbers 16 through 25, I only put them on the list because other fans and collectors had put them on the list, and they weren't ones that I wasn't particularly as thrilled as the ones that did make the top of the list here. Some of the figures I did purchase this year I have wholeheartedly enjoyed, but in terms of being able to live without them, I could live without them if I'm being honest. So I tried to make this as best as I could. So for the sake of time, and you guys' interest, I decided to take off the bottom 10 and make this just a top 15 video. Some honorable mentions that I will include on the list of my personal favorite figures for 2025. They include action figures such as the Gamer Edition Skywarp and Thundercracker figures. Trying to think of the others I bought this year. Age of the Prime. I'm Wasp. As great as thrilled as I am to finally have an action figure of him, he didn't quite make the list. There's the some of the first Transformers figures I purchased in 2025 were the crossover Street Fighter figures of Ryu, Optimus Prime, M. Bison, Megatron, and then the 2-pack of Chun-Li, RC, and Ken Hot Rod. They didn't quite make the list either. So the ones who did, they're ones that I wholeheartedly enjoy, and I'll try to be brief about why I bought them and why they made the list when others didn't. But I tried to lump them in the order of which I liked them, the price I paid for them, and how available they were. Another figure that didn't quite make the list, which I almost put on the list, was the Reactivate Transformers figures of Bumblebee and Starscream, and also the Optimus Prime and Soundwave 2-pack. I was about to put them on the list here, but one of the vintage Transformers figures that I purchased this year, I actually enjoy having it more than I do Optimus Prime and Soundwave, and partially it's because it's a figure that I never thought I was going to add to my Transformers collection. One figure that came really, really close to making the list, which is the last honorable mention, is my replacement copy of Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. I purchased him because I accidentally broke my original copy of Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, but I realized that that was purely for my own nostalgia's sake. And that was just a replacement figure. Had I not, the reason why Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus didn't make the list is because had I not broken my original copy of Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, I wouldn't have had to have purchased a brand new one, so that's why he didn't make the list. I won't show off as many Transformers figures. Some may surprise you more than others, but again, this is my own personal list. So to start things off at the figures who did make the list, first off at number 15, we have the only well, technically it's one of a few third-party Transformers figures that made the list, and it is this action figure right here. This is the I forgot the official name of it. Oh yeah, Zhang Gang Toys Transforming Globe. This is basically a third-party Voyager class-sized version of the Transformers creator god Primus, and just like the official Hasbro released Transformers Cybertron Supreme Class Primus figure that was released way back in 2006, and wow, I can't believe it's now been 20 years since the Transformers Cybertron action figures were last on the shelves of retail stores. But yeah, there is his alt mode. It's Planet Cybertron, but it's on a display stand, so it's now so it's not just Planet Cybertron. It's if Planet Cybertron was a globe. So yeah, it's a pretty fun Transformers third-party representation of Primus. At number 14 is one of my favorite deluxes of the Age of the Primes line, and it is Transformers Age of the Prime Deluxe Class Insecticon Venom. This guy was the last of the four, Generation 1 deluxe-sized Insecticons is what they were known as in the original Transformers Generation 1 line, and I'm really thrilled that Hasbro and Takara Tomy went the extra mile and made Venom a entirely new mold instead of just trying to make him a repaint or retool of a previously released Insecticon figure and calling it a day like they did with his deluxe class teammates. And with Venom's release, all four of the deluxe G1 Insecticons have been given modern Transformers action figures, and that's one of the criteria that makes Transformers figures end up on my list of Transformers figures, is if they're the last members that contain a team of a sub-team or subgroup of Transformers characters. Next up at number 13 is my personal favorite of the vintage Transformers figures that I purchased at the start of the year 2025. There was not as many Age of the Primes action figures that were being released during the spring months, and so I, at the time, a year ago on Amazon, some older Transformers action figures were going for what I felt was pretty decent price tags, and considering that this was probably my final attempt at getting these vintage Transformers action figures, I decided to go for it. These are basically a handful of Transformers figures that came out both back in 2007 and 2008 during the first live-action Transformers movie, and also the Universe Classics lines. But my favorite of them, which I haven't reviewed yet on my channel, is this guy. This is the Transformers 2007 first movie, all-spark-powered, Walmart-exclusive deluxe class Autobot Big Daddy. He's based on the Generation 1 Micromaster, who had a Micromaster figure in the Transformers Siege line in 2019. And yeah, this is the most recent action figure of this Micromaster Autobot character to have his original Generation 1 name. For the Siege line, Hasbro gave him a new copyrighted name of Daddy-O. But yeah, with a name like that, it surprises a lot of Transformers fans and collectors to know that he is in fact a heroic Autobot, not an evil Decepticon. And so it is really thrilling to have him there. So he made number 13 on the list. Number 12 is one of my favorite 2-packs to come out this year, and it is the Amazon exclusive Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Decepticon Carnivac versus Autobot Physitron, or Iron Fist as he was originally known. So these are the first action figures of these two characters that have been released since their original Generation 1 action figures came out back in the late 1980s. Carnivac was the leader of the Mayhem Attack Squad, which was the Decepticon equivalent of the Wreckers. Iron Fist was a Autobot released during the last days of Transformers Generation 1, which is why, to keep him on the shelves longer, when Hasbro switched over to the Generation 2 line, his G1 action figure was re-released unchanged in Generation 2 packaging, and one could argue that Carnivac is one of the first, his original Generation 1 action figure was one of the first Transformers action figures to be re-released and sold in a separate Transformers line. So as far as the quote-unquote two variants of his Generation 1 and Generation 2 action figure, the only difference is the boxes they came in, just like Legacy Cosmos, just to name a more recent example. And for being repaints and retools of Titan's Return, Weird Wolf, and Siege Hound, I'm really thrilled with how Carnivac and Physitron came out. Carnivac was one of the Decepticon Pretender Beasts in the Generation 1 line. He's the only one out of 4 of those Transformers characters that's been given a modern action figure. The other Pretender Beasts included Decepticon Snarler, who transformed into a Warthog, and then the Autobot Pretender Beasts were Catilla, who transformed into a saber-toothed cat, and Chain Claw, who was also an Autobot. He transformed into a grizzly bear. Whether or not we're going to get modern action figures of the other Pretender Beasts anytime in the near future is uncertain at this point, but I'm just thrilled to finally have an action figure of Carnivac. And he did play a crucial role in the Transformers comic books, especially the Generation 1 comic books that were released by Marvel UK, which is where he's been featured most prominently. And if you know the history behind Carnivac, you realize just how interesting of a Transformers character he actually is, despite being one of the more unpopular Transformers characters out there. Now, here, that was number 12. At number 11, Evan, I was really torn about which Transformers character to put at this spot, and I'm kind of cheating here because I'm doing two figures at once because I couldn't decide which of these figures to make the list, and one of them is right behind me, which I'm having trouble reaching behind because, as I said, I couldn't decide which of these action figures I wanted on the list or not. I wanted to keep the list at number 15 instead of 16, and just to have it be a decent number, but tied at number 11 are two action figures of Optimus Prime and Megatron that I purchased this year. And the Optimus Prime figure is, of course, the Takara Tomy exclusive Lunar Cruiser Optimus Prime action figure who transforms into a prototype moon roller from JAXA, the Japanese equivalent of NASA. And the Megatron figure, tied here at number 11, is the third-party company Deformation Toys BFP BPF Overlord Fight Again and Megatron action figure. This is basically an oversized leader class version of Siege Megatron, and I honestly couldn't decide which of these figures to put on the list, so they both tied in at number 11. At number 10 is a Transformers action figure that I was really excited for. Now, this is when I said I was kind of cheating because I was lumping together other different Transformers figures into the similar spots just to keep the list down. But one thing I do admit is that I like all of for the Transformers action figures of the 13 original Primes, pictured here behind me, that's actually Solus Prime in her box, and then up here is Alpha Trion, and then if I gently move my camera a bit, next to Alpha Trion, over there is Prima, and for a lot of Transformers fans and collectors, of the action figures of the 13 Primes that we've gotten so far, their favorites have included Megatronus Prime, Onyx Prime, Micronus Prime, and many Transformers fans and collectors have said that even Alpha Trion has been one of their favorite figures. Alchemist Prime has been kind of mediocre, same with Prima, and also Solus Prime, and since Prime and Solus Prime were released in Wave 1 of the Age of the Primes line, they haven't been quite as well received as compared to Megatronus Prime. I wanted to bring out Megatronus Prime, but he's buried under a bunch of boxes of other Transformers action figures I have, and I want to wait until I have all 13 of the original Primes before I take them out of their boxes, which is why I still have them unopened and I haven't reviewed them yet. I'm waiting until all 13 of the original Primes have been released and given modern Transformers action figures. There's only, with the recent release of Deluxe Class Quintus Prime and Leader Class Amalgamus Prime, there's only technically 3 of the 13 original Primes left who still haven't been given action figures in the Age of the Primes line. The last 3 to be released are Vector Prime, Nexus Prime, and Liege Maximo. But hopefully they'll come out this year, and hopefully all 3 of them will be released this year in 2026. But out of all the figures of the 13 Primes that we've gotten so far, the one that I personally was the most excited for, which is why I decided to choose for my top 10 for my list of favorite Transformers figures for 2025. So here I believe we're at number 9. We're at number 10. So at number 10 is my personal favorite of the 13 Primes, and it is the largest figure from the Age of the Primes line, Titan Class Star Convoy, or Star Optimus Prime as his name is printed on the box now. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors haven't been too happy about Hasbro's decision to just make Generation 1 Star Convoy the 13th Prime, but it's one that I personally don't mind. Sorry about that. My family's telling me it's time to I have to eat dinner with them soon, so hopefully I can wrap this up soon. So trying to brush through really fast. At number 9 is Skybite, and in terms of the Voyager class figures from Age of the Primes line, he's been a personal favorite amongst fans, especially of the Robots in Disguise series, and I tend to agree with fans on that. At number 8 is my personal favorite Target exclusive of this year, and it is the Ground Soldier and Elite Seeker 2-pack from the Target exclusive Studio Series Devastation collection. Action. I love the fact that these two army building figures are based directly off the appearances in the Devastation video game. In terms of the Target exclusive Devastation collection, this 2-pack has been the hardest of them all to find. And even more so than the figure that made number 7 on the list is to my favorite figures for this year, and it is the Target exclusive Age of Extinction versus 4-pack. My favorite figure of this 4-pack is Horrible, since he was the last of the Decepticon Headmaster Juniors to be given a modern deluxe figure. After him, my second favorite is Animated Nemesis Prime, and my third favorite is Generation 1 Bumper, since this is the first ever action figure Bumper that was released by Hasbro. And even though he's my least favorite of the 4, I still love having the deluxe class version of Ultra Magnus that's a repaint of Legacy United Optimus Prime. It's still a fun figure to have. They were number 7, I believe. Number 6 was the Diaclone versions of Top Spin and Twin Twist. Top Spin and Twin Twist remain my favorite deluxe figures from the Transformers Titans Return line, and these repaints of their Titans Return figures in the Generation 1 Diaclone colors, they are both pretty fantastic. So they make number 6, which means we've arrived at the top 5, and at number 5 on my list of favorite Transformers figures for 2025, it's two figures that are mold mates with each other, and it is Armada, Red Alert, and Generation 1 Flatline. A lot of fans and collectors never thought we were going to get an action figure of Flatline, and I just love that Hasbro and Takara Tomy, just like with Venom, they went the extra mile and made Armada, Red Alert an entirely brand new mold. So they made number 5 on my list of favorite figures for 2025. At number 4, is a pair of Transformers action figures that I was really excited to get and add to my Transformers collection, and it is the Transformers Hot Wheels exclusive figures of Twin Mill and Bone Shaker. I've really enjoyed having these figures in my collection. And with that, we've arrived at the top 3, and the figures that made number 2 and 3 on the list were really difficult for me to narrow down to, because they're both pretty incredible Transformers figures, but in terms of how badly I wanted the figures in my Transformers collection, the figures that made number 2 and 3 on my list of figures were Transformers figures of 2025. They're both Walmart exclusives, but all things considered, I have to be honest with you guys and myself. At number 3 on the list it's actually a tie between two figures that released together, Cybertron Excellion and Cybertron Sideways. I just threw in Excellion here because I'm really a fan of the mold that was designed for Cybertron Hotshot during the Legacy United line, but this number 3 spot is actually more for Sideways, because I just really love that we finally got an action figure of him from his Cybertron iteration. There's a figure of his Armada. His Transformers Armada version is being given a modern figure in the Age of the Primes line later this year in 2026. But yeah, I'm really thrilled that they released a new action figure of Cybertron Sideways. Not thrilled that he's a Walmart exclusive. Same thing with the figure that made number 2. And it is the Walmart exclusive Retro Sea Spray. Like Sideways, he's an entirely brand new mold. And a lot of fans and collectors who don't live near Walmart stores here in the United States, which is where I am, which is myself included, there's no Walmart stores close to where I live. If a lot of fans and collectors were hoping that Sea Spray was going to be a mass retail figure, some fans and collectors are hopeful that because the retro line is based off the Minibots Generation 1 action figures, that Hasbro will repaint Retro Sea Spray in his G1 cartoon colors, where he has a slightly darker shade of blue, and he actually has blue eyeballs in his head, not just a unpainted black visor. So far, there's been no announcements on the Retro Sea Spray figure being repainted in his G1 cartoon color scheme. But yeah, he's been one of my favorite figures for 2025. And finally, at number 1, this one probably won't be any surprise to you guys. But a lot of fans and collectors have said that this is right up there with Megatronus Prime. This is their all-time favorite Transformers figure released in 2025, because it's a figure of a character that was long overdue for a brand new action figure. And it's, of course, Studio Series 86 Leader Class Megatron. So despite his flaws, which there are quite a few, such as the turret of his tank mode not being entered, the color scheme on his legs being dark bluish gray instead of solid black, for the sake of transformation into his tank mode. And of course the fact that he was released in the Studio Series 86 line when Hasbro can no longer have Megatron have a handgun for his alt mode, and instead he has a tank. And despite his flaws, this has been one of my favorite. This has been one of my favorite all-time favorite Megatron figures, even though he's still in the box. And yeah, out of all the figures that were released this year that were released last year in 2025, between the Age of the Primes line and the Studio Series lines, Studio Series 86 Megatron was definitely the figure I was the most excited to get to my collection. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the TFfangeek. Happy New Year. Thank you to all my friends and subscribers for your continued support. And keep an eye out for my next Transformers review. And until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.